Yes, my name's Clare. I'm a speech and language therapist. I work in the West Essex adult community team. So I work in people's homes, in care homes, and in clinics with people that have got speech and language and communication difficulties, and also swallowing difficulties. So this is I'm going to talk through a case study, an example of the kind of person that I might work with on a regular basis. So this case study is a 60-year-old woman with Parkinson's disease. Now, Parkinson's is a progressive neurological condition. So this is a condition that causes problems in the brain and is progressive, so it gets worse over time. And speech and language therapists often work with people with PD because it impacts their voice and their swallowing as well. So some typical changes to voice and speech might be sounding more slurred, having extra slow or sometimes actually extra fast speech, which impacts on how much you can understand them. It can change the quality of your voice, can make your voice sound more hoarse. It might make your voice and your speech sound monotone, so it affects that expression when you're talking. It might cause difficulties pronouncing words. It can cause tremors and also very quiet voice. Often people with Parkinson's, their voice and their speech becomes more quiet over time. So for this case study, the background is this 60-year-old woman. She was referred to the speech and language therapy team by a specialist Parkinson's nurse who had been seeing her and had noticed that her speech was quite quiet and that her voice sounded quite rough. She lived at home, and recently her husband had been unwell and had gone into a care home. She'd had the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease for a couple of years. She'd had the symptoms for a couple of years, but had only just got the diagnosis. And that can be quite common, that symptoms can start and it takes a while to get the diagnosis. And she had a reduced social life because she also had mobility difficulties, making it hard to leave the house. She, over time, was lacking in confidence, and she said to me that she often felt she was being ignored by other people. She used to sing in a choir at church, and that was something that made her very happy, but she no longer felt that she could do that. So what I did as a speech and language therapist was to assess her speech. So to have a little listen to her speech and ask her to do specific speech tasks, to listen across a variety of situations, and also ask her lots of questions about how her speech is impacting her life. Then what I found was that her speech had become more quiet, but she wasn't aware of that. And that can be very common with Parkinson's disease, that your speech can become quiet, but you're not able to monitor your speech and notice that it has become quiet. So I gave her some education about this and how Parkinson's disease impacts speech, just to raise her awareness that actually her speech had got quiet over time compared to before. And that might be why she was noticing these feelings of people ignoring her, because people weren't hearing her in the same way as they were before. We involved her family in this discussion, and this was really, really helpful because the family weren't aware of her feelings of lacking confidence, and that raised their insight into what was going on for the woman. So we helped her identify some goals, and we trialed some strategies. There's a particular strategy which we called Think Loud technique, where we practice increasing the loudness of speech. And this not only makes it easier to hear, but it also improves things like breath control and articulation, and also voice quality. So that was very successful with this woman. We practiced this strategy and measured the success of it. Then I also saw my role as a bit of a coach to try and empower and motivate her to continue practicing the strategies, to use the strategies outside of the therapy sessions in her real everyday life. And she became very skilled in the strategies and was able to carry them on independently. At that point, she was discharged from speech therapy with kind of information about how to be re-referred in future if she needed us again. Now, multidisciplinary working, something I really like about working in healthcare is you do get to work with lots of other professions. And in this sort of case, we would work closely with the GP. We often get a lot of our referrals from the GP. We would work with specialist nurses. So in this case, liaising with the Parkinson's nurse. As I mentioned, we worked with the person's family. She was also being seen by a physiotherapist, and she also had carers that came in regularly. So these are all the other professions that I would come across on a daily basis and share information and work together. So the results of working with this lady were objective increase in measurements of loudness. So her voice actually got louder. She was able to make her speech louder than it was before. The quality of her voice was clearer as well. And there were improvements in her articulation. So her voice and her speech sounded less clear, less slurred. Then the things that were really important is how this impacted her everyday life. So she did really notice a reduction in people asking her to repeat herself, which was a real benefit to her. And she felt more confident in social situations. She was telling me that she felt more confident seeing friends, particularly in group situations. Her family were better able to understand her condition and made more efforts to include and support her. And she also started singing again in church, which was one of her goals. And that's all from me.